Good morning. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Christopher Ward C65 Dartmouth Series 1. This watch is available on christopherward.eu for €1,120. So firstly, let's look at the box that the C65 Dartmouth comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the watch box is protected by this matte black cardboard outer sleeve, which one removes. On the top of the outer sleeve, one sees the twin flag brand emblem for Christopher Ward, so very aesthetically pleasing. So this is the watch box itself, and as you can see, it has the Christopher Ward brand logo and again the twin flag brand emblem. The watch box is made from wood, which is finished to a flawless finish, and the right hand section of it is also made from wood, which is vinyl coated with a matte black plastic vinyl, so very aesthetically pleasing. One removes the inner wooden tray, as you can see, and one thing I want to bring to your attention is the attention to detail of this watch box. Inside the sleeve is fully felt lined, so that means when one pulls out the wooden tray, there's no scratching or scuffing sound to the wood against wood friction. So that kind of attention to detail is something one doesn't see at this price point, bearing in mind it's a mid-tier piece at €1,120. So absolutely finished to perfection with the matte vinyl black plastic, and the attention to detail with the finishing of the wooden section is also outstanding. One thing I really like about it is if you look at the end of the wooden tray, it has two magnets, and those two magnets also attract two magnets within the sleeve section, so they attract each other, and that keeps the sleeve firmly closed on the wooden tray. And I just think this is an innovative design, and Christopher Ward deserves full credit for it. So inside the tray, one gets the owner's manual, which I'll take out and show you. Now, this owner's handbook is very comprehensive. It's one of the best written owner's manuals I've seen, because the detailing is superb in terms of the diagrams, and it even details how to operate the micro adjustments on the clasp. So it really is a very thorough and well crafted owner's handbook, very useful if you're unfamiliar with automatic pieces and movements such as the Celita SW200-1 used in this watch. One also gets a warranty booklet, and inside the warranty booklet it has a plastic warranty card which details the terms and conditions of the 60/60 guarantee. So I will explain what that means. The 60/60 guarantee means one has 60 days to return your watch for refund if you aren't completely satisfied for any reason, and it also has a 60-month or 5-year warranty on the movements, the Celita SW200-1. So I think it's very reassuring to get a 5-year warranty on the movements in a watch, bearing in mind it's only €1,120, and also a 60-day return policy if you're unhappy with the watch and want a refund. So one removes the lid, and as you can see it has the twin flag logo again on the lid to the watch box, and inside the watch itself it sits on this piece of plastic which is also vinyl coated, as you can see, and the presentation is just absolutely outstanding. I love the design of it, the quality of the finishing. It's just beautiful to look at and very functional. So the watch box deserves full credit, and it's a refreshing change. So another thing one gets with a watch, which is very interesting, is the COSC certification. So it's in a cardboard sleeve which is branded with Christopher Ward, and this is something one never sees at this price point, and in fact more expensive mid-tier pieces. This is the original COSC certification. The movement used in this piece is COSC chronometer certified, and it's regulated in 5 positions, and one has the printout of the regulation. If you look at the reverse, it actually details the accuracy readout of the 5 positions. Now, really, I think it's a credit to Christopher Ward that they're COSC certifying their chronometer movements for accuracy. COSC chronometer accuracy is -4 to +6 seconds per day, and I'm pleased to report that this piece is running within +2 seconds per day, and the COSC certificate actually proves that fact. So that's something I really like about this watch, the fact that the SW200 movement used in the piece is actually COSC certified to within those limits. So with regards to the watch itself, The C65 Dartmouth Series 1 is a 41mm case. It has a 47mm lug-to-lug measurement, and it has a 22mm lug width. The overall thickness is a slender 11.5mm thick. Now, that's something I want to bring to your attention. 11.5mm thick is very unusual for an automatic piece. Usually it's the case with quartz movements and also manual wind pieces. Because they don't have a rotor on the underside of the movement, they can be housed in a slimmer watch case. Very unusual to get an 11.5mm thick automatic watch using a Sellita SW200-1. So that's a credit to Christopher Ward's design and build quality, the fact they're able to house an automatic movement in such a slender case, bearing in mind it has a domed sapphire crystal, as you can see. So just to put it into perspective, a Rolex Submariner is 13mm thick, so this is only 11.5mm thick, and it's noticeable the undercut of the case and the slender profile to that 47mm lug-to-lug measurement really means that it's a very slim, vintage-inspired looking piece. So with regards to the rest of the specification of the watch, it uses TC1 Super Luminova, which is absolutely outstanding. One thing I like about the dial design is the symmetry of the applied indices, the large triangle at the 12 o'clock index, the arrow hand for the hour hand, and also the baton style minute hand. The white arrow tipped second hand sweeps beautifully around the dial, and it also contrasts beautifully with the matte blue dial. Now, Christopher Ward have clearly drawn inspiration from the Omega Seamaster 300 with this piece, using the big triangle index at 12 o'clock, and they make no secret of this fact. They even declare it themselves on their website that this watch is inspired from the Omega Seamaster 300 big triangle. Personally, I don't have any problem with homage watches and watches taking inspiration from other brands. This clearly is a vintage-inspired piece. It's clearly meant to represent a military-issued piece such as the Omega Seamaster 300. And I actually really like that Omega Seamaster 300 dial layouts with the symmetry of the indices and the big triangle at 12 o'clock, as I've discussed. So I really like it. The matte blue dial is very well executed. It's finished to perfection, and also I like the fact that the Christopher Ward brand logo sits at 12 and it simply says automatic and chronometer at the 6 o'clock position. It's not over branded with specification such as the water resistance and other irrelevant information. At the 6 o'clock index either side it also says Swiss made. So yes, this watch is made in Switzerland, and it does use a credible Swiss made movement, the Sellita SW200-1, which is COSC chronometer certified, as I've discussed. Beautiful finishing to the very slim coin edge finish bezel. It has a 60 click unidirectional bezel, and I'm just going to show you the bezel action because it's absolutely outstanding. This watch has one of the most satisfying bezel actions I've ever experienced. Very heavy clicks and very reassuring ratcheting mechanism. It's got a nice positive heavy clicking sound and nice firm resistance. No backplay whatsoever. The alignment is superb, and also the execution in terms of the operation of the bezel action is very nice. The 60 click unidirectional bezel does give it that vintage aesthetic, because 60 click bezels were more popular in the 1980s, for example, and then they were succeeded by 120 click unidirectional bezels of today. I like the indexing of the minute markings all the way around the bezel. It has an aluminium bezel insert and a large loomed triangle rather than a lume pip on the bezel insert at 12 o'clock. It reminds me of a Rolex 5513 or 5517 mil sub with those 60-minute ticks all the way around the bezel. Adds to the symmetry and complements the symmetry of the applied indices on the dial. The navy blue tone of the aluminium bezel insert perfectly matches the navy blue tone of the matte dial. So they've really got that colour match done to perfection. Now, with regards to the domed sapphire crystal, I absolutely love it. It reminds me of the top hat crystals used by Rolex with their plexiglass crystals in the 1960s, and it just adds to the vintage aesthetic of the piece. Beautiful characteristic domed distortion and slight magnification when one tilts the piece at an oblique angle. With regards to the oyster style bracelet, it tapers from 22mm at the lugs down to 18mm at the 2-button push clasp. The clasp is finished to perfection. Brushed satin finish throughout, both on the top side, underside and also on the flanks, which complements the brushed satin finish to the flanks of the oyster style bracelet. Push pins in the bracelet rather than screw pins, and I have to give due credit to Christopher Ward for the excellent execution of the engraving of their twin flag logo on the clasp. It's just very well finished, and it's actually the kind of clasp one would expect on a higher tier piece, costing €4,000 or €5,000. And bear in mind, this watch costs €1,120, so it's significantly less expensive than that. Beautiful spring-loaded 2-button push trigger action, and inside the solid stainless steel milled clasp is finished to perfection. Brushed satin finish on the top side, underside and flanks, and the Christopher Ward brand logo is beautifully engraved on the interior. The clasp itself has one of the most satisfying actions I've ever experienced. Nice positive click, nice lightweight sprung-loaded action to the 2-button push. Now, the other thing I'd like to show you about this clasp is the micro adjustment. If you look closely at the end of it, it has a ratcheting micro adjustment mechanism. I can push in the bracelet like so, and that gives suitable micro adjustments. There's a catch on the inside which is spring loaded, so one engages one's thumbnail and one can then pull back out the ratcheting micro adjustment, as you can see. So you can fine tune the fit of this bracelet by each click like this without having to use any tools like a bracelet resizing tool, for example, to push the pins out. One can simply use that ratcheting mechanism, and it's absolutely done to perfection. The execution of it is perfect. It really is very satisfying to use, to be able to adjust the length of the watch. So with regards to the case back, it has a screw down solid stainless steel case back, and as you can see, it is embossed with the Royal Navy crown. So Christopher Ward have gained a license from the British Ministry of Defence so that this watch can bear the naval crown. And it really is very well executed. The quality of the engraving of the case back and also the embossed naval crown is just done to perfection. The exterior of the naval crown, the circumference is mirror polished to a flawless finish, and then the centre section has a very aesthetically pleasing satin finish which looks bead blasted, but the Christopher Ward brand logo and Royal Navy with the naval crown have a 3D effect, and the detailing on that naval crown is just outstanding. When I tilt it in the light, you can see the detailing. It's just beautiful. It's one of the most aesthetically pleasing and well executed screw down case backs that I've seen. Another thing I really like about this watch is the high grade of solid end links. As you can see, 2 screws secure the end of the bracelet to the solid stainless steel end link, and the end links are quick release. Now, on less expensive quick release spring bars, they simply have one quick release on one end of the spring bar, and this means one doesn't need a spring bar tool to remove the end link from the head of the piece if you want to change the bracelet for a strap, for example. But on this one, you can see that it clearly has 2 quick releases on either end of the spring bar, and that means you simply use your finger and thumb to disengage the spring bar from the case. And the execution of those quick release spring bars is just done to perfection. The fit of the end links in the case is just flawless. It really is very good. No extra play, no extra articulation, beautiful form to the end links, and the finishing with regards to the brushed satin finish on the top side of the bracelet is just Rolex quality. It really is beautiful the way that the 316L grade stainless steel is brushed into a satin finish. One can see the grains of the stainless steel and just a lovely sheen to it. It's just, again, it's the kind of finishing one would expect with a €4,000 or €5,000 price tier piece. This really reminds me of the finishing of my Tudor Black Bay in terms of the brushed satin finish. It really is of a higher standard than one would expect than a watch that costs €1,120. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how the watch fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, it's sometimes the case that watches are too tight to wear on my 8-inch wrist because that's a large wrist size, but I'm pleased to report that on maximum extension I can actually fit my index finger underneath the bracelet, so this watch will comfortably fit up to an 8-inch wrist with no difficulties whatsoever. Now, the feel-good factor of wearing this watch is absolutely outstanding. As you can see, due to the undercut of the case and the case profile, it really does fit very snugly on my 8-inch wrist. I'm confident with a 47mm lug-to-lug measurement that although this is a large 41mm piece, it would suit collectors with a 6 to 7-inch wrist, and it would also suit collectors with a larger 7 to 8-inch wrist such as myself. So have confidence. If you're a collector with a small wrist and think that a 41mm piece is going to be too large, that's nothing to worry about with this piece because of its low profile. Despite having a domed sapphire crystal, as you can see, at only 11.5mm thick, it does wear very low profile on the wrist, and therefore it would slip easily underneath a shirt cuff of a business shirt. And also, it's very aesthetically pleasing due to the low profile of the coin edge finish bezel. Now, the 2-button push trigger system on that clasp is just an absolute pleasure to operate. It's just, the spring-loaded action is done to perfection. So very enjoyable piece to wear, lightweight, comfortable to wear for long periods of time, and the clasp itself is just one of my favourite aspects. I love the reassuring click, and also that twin flag logo, which is beautifully engraved. Very nicely finished. I would describe the finishing of the clasp really to be like a Rolex glide lock in terms of the deburring, the edges, the bevels, everything about it. There's no sharp corners, no sharp edges. It's just absolute quality. It's superb. One of my favourite clasps I've ever seen on a watch. So I'll give you a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs on the watch. It uses TC1 Superluminova, so I've got high expectations of that Lume. C1 and C3 Superluminova are personal favourites of mine due to their bright green tone. So let's see how it looks when it's fully charged up with my 100 LED UV torch. Now this watch is €1,120, so I'm clearly going to expect the Lume to perform to a very high standard. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, the Lume on this watch is incredible. It's just absolutely outstanding. I love the large loomed triangle on the aluminium bezel inserts rather than using a Lume pip. The large big triangle 12 o'clock index on the dial is clearly legible and it gives good orientation. I like the arrowhead hour hands and also the arrowhead tip to the sweeping second hand, and also the contrast between the baton hand. It's easy to differentiate between the arrowhead of the hour hand and the baton style minute hand. Just done to perfection. The symmetry of the applied indices really does enhance the legibility and the functionality of the dial. And the Lume is glowing brightly, and it's also continuing to glow for a good length of time. This is one of the best performing Lume I have seen on a watch. I would describe it as equal to the quality of the Lume used in my Tudor Black Bay, which is a much more expensive piece. So bear in mind that this is €1,120. To get C1 Superluminova performing like this is just incredible. Top quality Lume, very reassuring and very satisfying to look at. Now, I want to talk more about the movements. The Sellita SW200-1 used in this watch is a 26 dual movement which has a 40-hour power reserve. It runs at the industry standard for automatic movements, 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. Now, 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz is the sweet spot when it comes to automatic movements, because it's the perfect compromise between power reserve and accuracy. 4 Hz really does give a good balance between good power reserve and also good accuracy. This movement is COSC chronometer certified to within -4 to +6 seconds per day, as I've discussed. This one is running within 2 seconds per day, which is very good. Now, I think it's perfect. It's a good choice for this watch. 40 hours of power reserve, and this is running within +2 seconds per day. To get a chronometer certified movement in a watch at €1,120 is just incredible. And it's a major selling point to this watch. It's something that I really like about it. With regards to the crown, it's a solid stainless steel push-pull crown, coin edge finished. I really like the twin flag signed detailing to it, and also the inner circumference has a blue trim which is subtle but very eye-catching. Now, with regards to negatives to the watch, what are the negatives? Well, personally, I would prefer to see a screw-down crown rather than a push-pull crown at this price point. The negative point to the push-pull crown is it doesn't provide the same level of hermetic seal as a screw-down crown. Screw down crowns on dive watches typically provide 200 meters to 300 meters of water resistance. This push-pull crown provides 150 meters of water resistance, so it's not as good as a screw down crown would be. It does have a screw down case back, as I've discussed, which provides a second hermetic seal to 150 meters, so that's perfectly acceptable. Are there any other negatives to the watch? Well, minor criticism I have of the bracelet is that it uses push pins rather than screw pins. At this price point, at the mid-tier price, I would prefer to see screw pins, as they're an indication of quality rather than push pins. However, some collectors will actually prefer the use of push pins because it does make resizing the Oyster style bracelet easy. One simply uses a pin removal tool to resize the bracelet to add and remove links. But they are the only criticisms I have of the watch: the use of a push-pull crown and the use of push pins in the bracelet rather than screw pins. Everything else is beautifully executed. Lastly, I just want to talk about the case finishing because it's one of the best aspects of this watch. Beautiful undercuts to the flanks of the case, beautiful mirror polished bezel which contrasts with the brushed satin finish to the flanks of the case. The quality of the case finishing on this watch is the kind of finishing one would expect on a €5,000 watch. It's close to Grand Seiko Zaratsu case polishing, which is the highest level of case polishing I've seen. I think Christopher Ward deserve full credit for not cutting any corners with regards to their build quality, the quality control, and most importantly the case finishing. That large bevel and the brushed satin finish of the flanks of the case with the mirror polished undercut are simply done to perfection. Absolutely 10 out of 10 outstanding quality. So, lastly, I'll surmise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet two criteria. The watch should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So the price point of this watch is €1,120. Yes, it is excellent quality, and yes, it is excellent value. To get a COSC chronometer certified piece at this price point is very rare, it's very unusual. That alone makes this watch excellent quality and excellent value. COSC chronometer certification is something one would expect to see on a watch costing €4,000 to €5,000, a higher tier piece. One simply does not get COSC chronometer certification at only €1,120. The sapphire crystal is beautifully executed and it has AR coating on the underside, so although it's got a domed crystal, it's highly anti-reflective. Corners haven't been cut with this piece. It uses TC1 Superluminova on the applied indices and the hands, and as I've demonstrated, the Lume is top quality. I absolutely love the micro adjustments of the 2-button push clasp, and I just think it's an absolute pleasure to use. Aesthetically pleasing and also finished to perfection. The execution is flawless. Also, it's a nice touch to have the Royal Navy crown embossed on the case back, and it's a credit to Christopher Ward that they were able to secure that license from the British Ministry of Defence. They clearly have confidence in the piece. So overall, I think this watch is outstanding. It's a champagne watch for lemonade money, and I highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I strongly recommend this watch. I think it is excellent quality and excellent value. I absolutely love it. It's one of the favourite watches I have reviewed on my channel to date. So I hope you've liked my review of the Christopher Ward C65 Dartmouth Series 1. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.